All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Karen Brownlee, and I am the Adult Program Coordinator at the North Suburban YMCA in Northbrook, Illinois. In that role, I bring a variety of programs to our community, including social networking opportunities, a caregiver support group, brain games, and the YMCA Education Series, which you are attending today. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the third in our 6-month monthly meditation series hosted by Dr. Paul Nevin. Dr. Nevin holds a doctoral degree in clinical psychology, a master's degree in developmental psychology, and is a trained wellness coach with the Mayo Clinic. He owns Heartlight Psychological Services in Bannockburn, Illinois, which he runs with his wife, Carrie. In addition, Dr. Nevin has extensive experience and training with meditation and has worked with meditation practitioners all over the world for 4 decades. He is now in his 4th year bringing meditation to the community through the North Suburban YMCA, and we thank him for that very much. He's been a wonderful addition to Y programming, and I know that many, many people appreciate his meditation programs, especially now. The YMCA Education Series is free and open to the public, and as a 501c3 charity, we do rely on fundraising to help us serve the community. If you enjoyed today's presentation and want to help us continue to offer these types of free programs, we welcome your donations to the North Suburban YMCA. You can visit our website at www.nsymca.org and see all that we are doing and planning. Enough about the why. You came here today to meditate. So with no further ado, I give you Dr. Paul Nevin. Thank you, Dr. Nevin, and I will let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Karen. And welcome, everybody. Welcome back. I wanted to start today with a little bit of talking about starting your own meditation practice. For those of you who have been with us for a while, I always invite you to send personal comments or questions through my email or through the website. And I actually got one after the last session from Hank, who was asking about how do we turn the things that we're exploring here into a daily practice? What would be some guidelines for that? And I think there are a few ways that you can do that. I'm right now just trying to offer a taste of a few different things so that people can kind of explore and try what they want. But I think it's important to clarify that when you do a regular practice, you can do whatever you want, obviously, but I think traditionally what you would do is find something that resonates with you and then mostly try to stick to, for example, if you don't need to, in a single practice, do breathing and then focus on a word and then focus on something else and then do imagery and then do whatever. You don't need to incorporate all of these into a practice. Rather, you explore these different things and then you say, you know what, I think I want to work with breathing for a while, or I think I want to work with guided imagery for a while. And then you would do, as ideally, a daily practice or twice daily practice or something like that for a time with that focus. That's how most people would do it. If you want to, sometimes people do offer meditation practices or guided practices that try to incorporate a few different things so that people can kind of have a sample and do that as their regular thing for a while. And we actually have a practice kind of like that on my website. So when Karen at the end puts up the information again, I'll say it now in case you want to write it down, but the website is www.heartlightps, HEARTLIGHTPS. The PS is for psychological services, heartlightps.com. And on the front page there, you'll see in the lower left, I think it is, there's a button that says the Heartlight Relaxation Practice, or words to that effect. That will take you to an audio page where you can have a free relaxation practice. As we've talked about in past sessions, some people make a distinction between meditation and relaxation. They're sort of in the same family. There's somewhat differences depending on what you're trying to achieve. But for most of the positive effects associated with meditation, this will be a fine practice to use, and it incorporates a handful of different things. It starts with some breathing. It goes through a progressive relaxation of the body. It uses some guided imagery. One of the easiest ways to get started in a practice, especially if your initial primary goal is to calm your nervous system into problem, if you have too much stress in your life, if you have your emotions are a little jangled and you want to try to like get to more positive emotional state on a regular basis. For any of these sort of generic purposes, I'm seeing here, by the way, that my internet is a little unstable here, so I'm sorry if I phase in and out, just try to bear with me here. But for any of these general reasons for doing a meditation, if you're really doing it, especially for a wellness coaching tool to improve your psychological or physical wellness, a relaxation practice start. And one of the simplest ways to start is to do it as a bedtime ritual. What I often suggest to my clients is that they take the practice from the website and be religious about putting it on every night as you go to bed, but don't be religious about how you do it. In other words, you don't need to pay attention. You don't need to worry if you're going to be able to stay up for it. You don't have to worry if you're doing it right or wrong or starting over if you miss something. Just put it on, pay its best attention as you can. If you fall asleep, you fall asleep. If you get distracted for a little piece, you get distracted. Just let it play out. If most people do this for a month or so, it will reset your system in some fundamental ways in terms of how different parts of your brain react to stress, in terms of your chemistry, even in terms of certain health variables like inflammation and other markers will be improved by doing a practice like this. So that's probably the easiest way to get a foot in the door on a regular practice. Another option is to start with, especially if you have trouble sitting nighttime practice, another way to get a foot in the door is to start with a very brief practice and build up. So for example, say you choose as your focus a breathing meditation, and you want to do some sort of deep breathing as your meditative focus. And as with any focal meditation, you just focus on the breathing, and when your mind wanders, you bring it back to the focus on the experience of your breathing. If you find that 2 minutes seems like an insanely long period of time and you can't stand the idea of doing it for 20 minutes, then start with a minute or two. And then every week or two, increase it a minute or two. Within a handful of time, within 6 months or so, you'll be doing a regular practice and you'll have built up to it very gradually. Another possibility, which I do particularly with people who are struggling with various wellness challenges, if someone is dealing with, fighting a battle with a particular diagnosis, they're dealing with, going through the stress of a cancer treatment or recovering from a heart disease or something like that. More of my health clients, it often feels too much to try to take on doing a practice daily. They don't feel like they have enough time, energy, or emotion to manage that. What I would suggest in those cases is what I would call brief practices stretched throughout the day. So do the 1 or 2 minute kind of an exercise and try to do it a few times during the day if you can. Maybe even set yourself some sort of a timer or even something that, reminds you to do it regularly. I've had clients who do this for a minute or two, a few times during the day. I've had some people who do it even just a breath or two. Like I've had people who are extremely busy and extremely stressed and overwhelmed. And I will start them by saying, okay, every time you finish with a client, take 2 or 3 deep breaths and just make that your meditation as a starting point. So you can really start anywhere and build up. Most of the positive effects associated with meditation, if you read like a magazine article and they're listing all these positive effects and changes to the brain and the body and health and wellness and productivity and all these other things, most of those studies are looking at a 15 to 20 minute practice at least once a day, and many of those studies in fact are twice a day. So you have to get into a fairly substantial practice for a period of time to see some of those benefits reliably. But my experience is that the first foot in the door, particularly with regard to stress management, is the most important for most of my clients. I would rather see someone, and this is true of not just meditation, this is true of things like exercise, of various other techniques, of eating healthy, whatever. The first step into doing something constructive is probably 50 to 80% of the benefit. For example, even in working out, it's great to work out and do a really intensive workout. And certainly if you look at certain guidelines from health organizations, they will suggest quite a bit of exercise during the week as an ideal for your health and wellness. But I have found, particularly in what I do, which is wellness coaching and clinical psychology, people get a dramatic benefit even if they're doing something mild for 15 to 20 minutes a day, even if they're not breaking a sweat, even if they're just getting into their body and getting moving. The same is true of meditation. If you just do something where you check in with yourself on a daily basis, even for 5 or 10 minutes, if you start your day before you get out of bed by just breathing for 10 minutes, if you do something as you're going to sleep for 10 minutes, that first step into calming your mind is going to be a tremendous improvement compared to doing nothing. So I would suggest any of you to just start where you are and build up gradually with that. From there, we're going to do a little bit more of this is a little bit of an unusual practice we're going to do today. You could call this, I guess, guided imagery, or maybe even journeying. Some people, as I said before, there's no unified, everyone agrees definition of what constitutes meditation. There's a set of practices that are like a family of practices that you could call meditation. This is more of a guided imagery, or even what some would call a journeying practice that you might see in certain shamanic traditions and things like that. The particular context for this is going to be a garden practice where you imagine an inner garden and work on your inner garden. And it's actually comes from Hawaii. There's a tradition, a psychological and spiritual tradition in Hawaii that is called Huna. One of my teachers way back when was a Huna practitioner from Hawaii. Huna is a little bit hard to explain quickly, but as I said, it's sort of, you could see it as at least analogous to the native traditions in the US. If you think of the spiritual and health practices of, say, the various Indian tribes in the US, they have their own sort of spirituality and their meditative practices as part of that in Native American practices. Huna is, in a sense, a native practice from native Hawaii. And one of their ideas is that anything you focus your mind on, particularly with a particular intention, sort of communicates to other aspects of your total mind. From a psychological point of view, you might say this is a way of talking to your unconscious, a way of reprogramming your unconscious even. And what they do in this practice is you go to an imaginary journey to an inner garden in your mind. We're going to imagine it as if it was within us. If you like to imagine a specific space for it, you can imagine it in the space of your physical heart. And as we go within, we're going to imagine a garden that is uniquely yours. It can be whatever size you want. It can have whatever plants or flowers or vegetables or whatever else you want. But here's the idea from Huna, is that you imagine that this represents your life and your inner self. You imagine that this inner garden is an sort of a dream image that tells you how you are doing and how your life is doing. Everything in your inner garden is going to represent something, and we'll explore a little and see what, if you see a tree that is not doing so well, you ask yourself, what does that represent? And then you go and you water it, or you get helpers to help you to heal it or whatever. And by working in this way with your sense of your intuitive idea of your inner world and representing it in a colorful way like this, it's like a very powerful way of communicating to a part of you that doesn't use words, to a part of you that knows how to change things, but needs to get clear instructions from you about how to do that. So with that, let's start by just relaxing a little bit. We're going to do a not too long version of this. I want to have one other meditation that we're going to do today as well. So we'll probably go another maybe 10 to 15 minutes with this practice. This is a Huna inner garden practice. Begin by closing your eyes, or if you prefer to have your eyes slightly open, pick a point and close your eyes partially. If you're comfortable with it, better to close your eyes and allow yourself to start breathing a little more deeply and a little more slowly than you normally would. As you breathe in, feel as though you're being rejuvenated. And as you breathe out, feel as if you're releasing any stress or tension. Allow the exhale to be a little bit longer than counting. You could imagine that you breathe in to a count of 4 and breathe out to a count of 6. You don't have to worry about counting specifically, but just think in terms of the exhale is a little bit longer than the inhale. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, resets your stress response, brings you into a part of your brain that's better able to relax and feel at ease. Feel as though you're breathing in to the area of your chest around your physical heart. What in India they call the heart center or the heart chakra. Feel as if this is the center of not only your physical body, but your psychological world. And as you relax into this part of your body, I want you to feel as if you are entering into almost a dreamlike version of an inner garden located in this part of your body. With this image and with anything else in this practice, if you're not sure what I'm saying or you're not sure how to do it, just don't worry about it. You can't do this wrong. Whatever feels comfortable to you, just continue on and follow your own intuition, change whatever you need to change to feel comfortable if you're not understanding what I'm saying. But we're going to now, as if you were stepping into a dream, imagine that you stepped into an inner garden. It can be any size you want. It can have any elements you want, trees, flowers, food, like vegetable garden. There can be a body of water. There could be a house or a cabin. Just look around for a moment and feel yourself connecting to this inner image. And for a moment, connect to your inner senses. Feel as though if you're standing, feel the feet beneath you touching the ground. Take a deep inhale of your inner garden and see what scents there are in the air. If there's the sun shining, feel the sun on your face. Are there any things to hear in the garden? Do you hear birds or bells or the wind moving through the trees? Let yourself move in a sensorial way into this inner garden image. And now give yourself the suggestion that this inner garden is your unconscious representation of your world, including all of your beliefs, attitudes, relationships, and exactly how that translates is completely up to you and can change according to your will. You are within this inner world, all powerful, and you have whatever helpers and whatever tools you need. So for example, if you were to find a tree that looked like it was dying or not doing well, you would have the ability with whatever helpers you want to remove it, to heal it, to trim it, to do whatever helps you to feel like you are repairing the health of that tree or replacing it with a healthy tree. And in the process, whatever that is symbolizing for you is also being repaired or changed. You are essentially sending the message to your inner self that you are giving yourself permission to change that element of your life. So let's begin by exploring around your garden a little bit. Notice if there are any helpers. Helpers can be whatever you want. It could be other people, it could be animals, it could be angelic beings. The man from Hawaii who first taught me this practice said that his inner helpers were always hula girls. So that's always an option. Traditionally in the Hawaiian ancient times, they might imagine little people like what they call the menehune, which are sort of like what leprechauns would be in Ireland or in other places. But you can have anything you want as inner helpers. It can just be powers that you call upon, spiritual powers that help you, angelic beings, power animals, whatever strikes your fancy, and it can change as you're going if your intuition or imagination inspires you to do so. Look around now and just look at what is the general contours of your garden. Get a sense of who you are by looking around at how you express who you are as a garden. Is there any water? Is there sun? Are there trees? Is there anything that's really a tree that looks particularly strong, or an area of flowers that is blossoming beautifully? Look at one such thriving element and ask yourself, what does this represent in my life? What is it in me that is thriving? If you like, you or your helpers can help this area to thrive even fuller, more fully, by bringing water or whatever nurturants to the soil would help, or by transplanting it to a place of better sun. Now, I want you to think for a moment of your health and physical well-being. If there's anything in your health or wellness, anything from your mood to your energy level to a specific part of your body that has given you some challenge or difficulty, to a diagnosis you're facing, whatever it is, I want you to look around in your garden and see how this is represented. If there's something in your experience that is not as well as you want it to be, it could manifest as muddy water, or as a tree that's not doing well, or an area of ground that is not allowing something to grow. It doesn't have adequate water or sun. Think about what you would need to do with your area of your garden, and allow that work to begin. Again, you can replace anything, fix anything, transplant anything. This is your inner world. It does not have to follow the rules of logic any more than you want it to. You can bring some perfect medicine that makes the plant heal before your very eyes, some magical water, some sacred medicine that you on it. It could be transplanted to a place of better sun or water. The garden is dry, you can conjure up a storm to bring gentle waters to the entire garden. You can bring on not only helpers who help you to plant and change things, but advisors, wise beings who come and tell you what you could do to make this better. You could think about things that you might change in your life, like exercise or diet, and see suddenly, even as you think of these things, this part of your garden starts to do better. Now, I want you to wrap up this part of the practice and feel as though this thing is doing well. Feel as though whatever work you have not fully completed, your helpers will complete it in the next 24 to 48 hours. And next time you visit your garden, it will be doing splendidly well. Now turn your attention to another part of your garden. You can walk a little ways to find another area that represents something in your life that gives you joy, or even the joy itself of your life. Something that gives you a sense of meaning, pleasure, enjoyment, brings a smile to your day, something you would look forward to. And if this area of your garden is not flourishing, do whatever you need to make it flourish more. You may need to plant new seeds or seedlings. Perhaps plant a healthy tree here. Arrange for there to be a fountain or a pool so there's a supply of water to this area. Clear the branches of other trees so that there's plenty of sunshine in this area. Whatever you need to do. And again, you can lean back into what we call the real world and imagine making various changes, thinking, what if I started to do this hobby, or what if I read this book, or what if I learned this language, or tried to travel more, or whatever it is that you think might bring you some joy. Play with those ideas, and as you play with them, see if that shifts your garden in a way that feels good to you. We're going to do one more activity here in the garden before we finish and try another practice. In this case, I want you to look around and see a bridge that comes into your garden. A bridge that comes from a more general area that belongs to all people, that connects you to other people's gardens. And feel as if a visitor is coming. It could be a friend that you know. It could be a being of some kind, whether a power animal, a spiritual being. It could be a character from your own spirituality that is terribly important to you. An elder, a wise man or woman, a young child. They're coming with a basket. There are gifts for your garden. So they walk up to you. They walk up with a smile, tremendous warmth, and hand you the basket. And you see that there are small cups of seeds and seedlings, as well as a jar of some kind of special magical water or nectar, some power stones, magical stones of some kind. You pass these to one of your helpers who starts to bring them to the places in the garden that would benefit from them, and you feel like these gifts will enhance your garden. Magic gardening for one day. You bring your attention back to the place where you entered into the garden. You look around and see the improvements that you've made and feel satisfied that you've taken a step in a positive direction.
Watching a Zoom thing on meditation. Could I call you back?
Someone needs to mute themselves, whoever's talking on the phone here.
Yeah, I muted them. Sorry about that, Paul.
Okay. As you look around your garden, you see that all is well, that things are improving. Not only what you worked on, but this is having effects beyond what you imagined, and other parts of your garden are also doing better and blooming well. Now in your garden world, you close your eyes and you remember yourself in the room where you began your meditation. You feel the area of your physical chest, the center of your heart, as if there were a glow, a light there. You come back to the room, feeling yourself in your body, sensing yourself coming back to the physical focus from your psychological focus. And when you're ready, gradually just blink your eyes open, wiggle your fingers and toes, and feel yourself come back to the room. All right. Let's just say briefly, there are things from this Hawaiian tradition that are, not well known and not, necessarily Many of my scientific friends who are into meditation will not have heard of a practice like this. They may have heard of guided imagery in general and see this as part of that family. One of the things that I really like about the Hawaiian tradition, they would see it as a spiritual tradition, but it's a very psychologically based spiritual tradition. And one of their essential ideas is that there's different aspects of our psyche, different aspects of our psychological being. And the part that we are most familiar with, what they call the lono, at least in some traditions, they call lono, L-O-N-O, refers to the part of us that talks and thinks and is most aware of our sense of self. There is another part that they work with that they call sometimes the ku, which is, you might say, the body-mind consciousness. They would see that the body and the unconscious, the body-mind to them is at least similar somewhat to what psychologists would refer to as the unconscious or the subconscious. And they would see it as a part of our mind or our being that relates mostly through emotions and images and can understand words, but doesn't exactly resonate with words as powerfully as it does with images and emotions. And that part of us has a great deal of power to make things happen in our lives, to bring certain experiences into our lives, particularly to govern the health and wellness of our body and our physical being. But it has to have clear messages from us about what we want. That sometimes in this tradition, they would say, without meaning to, by focusing on something that frightens us or something that's hurting us or bothering us, without meaning to, we're actually meditating on that and confusing the signals that we're sending to this older, deeper part of ourself and unintentionally strengthening something that we want to remove. So doing a practice like this allows the lono, the more conscious mind part of us, to communicate through images and emotions in a rich way that sort of reprograms our biological and psychological computer, so to speak. It allows us to speak to another part of ourselves that has an ability to help us change in a way that speaks the language of that part of ourselves. If you want to, return to your garden anytime you wish to as a meditation practice. And just, if you have a problem, if there's a relationship you want to work on, if there's a health problem you want to work on, if there's something you want to bring to life, a business project, anything you want to do, you could find some equivalent of it represented in your garden. Go and work on it in that format. And that's a way of sort of telling the larger part of your mind, I want to change this, bring all the resources you have to bear to change this. And that part of you may just go, oh, okay, boss, I didn't understand what you wanted. Here you go. And it will start to bring change. I've seen people see some pretty miraculous things, even in terms of healing processes, when they do a practice like this regularly for a little while. I'm going to take another 10 minutes or so to move us into another practice here. One of the things we've talked about in all of our meetings is that a common approach to meditation is what I refer to as focal meditation. And the basic idea is that you can take anything as a focus, whether it's your breath, a word that you're repeating over and over, a candle flame, and whatever the thing, if you just wordlessly, experientially keep your focus gently on that thing, and then when your mind wanders, you bring it back. That is a basic format for meditation across many different cultures and times. One of the things that you can actually focus on is an expanded state, a state of, someone referred to it as emptiness or openness or infinity, if you like. In other words, the thing that you're focusing on doesn't have to be a limited something. It can be an absolute emptiness or an absolute fullness, an absolute and infinite state of some kind. So we're going to take that as our focus here and do a brief experiential meditation where we merge with the universe and beyond. I want you to go again, close your eyes, bring yourself into a relaxed state in whatever way feels comfortable to you. Breathe a little slower and a little deeper. And in this practice, we're going to begin by focusing our attention on the mind itself. Feel your psychological awareness, your sense of I am, your sense of subjective existence. And then feel that mind self, that mental state, begins to expand. Realize that your physical body is just almost like a car that you drive or like clothing that you wear. It doesn't actually limit you. And feel as though your mental self, the mind stuff that you really are, as if an inner light expanding from the vehicle of your body is expanding to the room. Become aware of the room that you're in, as if you have expanded to fill the room. And then we'll expand further. Expand beyond, as if you're becoming very large, growing to the space of your town, beyond your house, beyond your neighborhood, filling your entire town or city. And you keep growing, eventually encompassing the entire planet, all the way up to the moon. Pausing here for a moment, you feel yourself much larger, but it feels natural, as if you really are quite spacious in your being, and you simply are playing at being a human being. You expand further now and begin to absorb planets, the sun, and beyond to the stars. Continue on absorbing stars, planets, nebulae, becoming more and more the entire universe, expanding and expanding. Your mental state expands until you have come to encompass all of physical matter, as if all of the world is a great ball of infinite, near infinite proportions, with countless stars, galaxies. Your mind expands to hold all of these easily. And beyond this, you see an absolute space. The essence of nature, if you are of spiritual inclination, you could say that this is where the circle ends and the beginnings of God begin. We are within God in this sense, not apart from. Feel that you expand to this nature of the absolute space, and realize that this space is actually, even though it seems empty, it is actually a totality. Almost white holds all the colors. Feel as though this space holds all the potential for form. And it's infinite. And you expand to this infinity and allow yourself now to let go of the idea of being any particular form or limitation, and just become that infinity, that infinite space. Become one with the infinite space that contains all of creation. As with any focal meditation, if your mind wanders, simply bring it back to a focus on infinite space, an unlimitedness of your being. You are one with all that is. If you prefer, you can choose to see this as simply a mental exercise, a way of developing your mind through meditation. But I will mention here that across many different countries, many different time periods, there are meditators, mystics from many different traditions who claim that this is a real experience, that they have spontaneously had this experience of connecting to all that is and realizing that that is really their true self, and that they are having an adventure in a body, that is not their truest being. That their truest being is that they are one with this totality. And that in that sense, we are all one, and this is where we all meet. This state of consciousness is referred to by many different names: nirvana, awakening, samadhi, satori, turiya, union. Feel as though from this infinity you are absorbing anything and exactly what you need, whatever will benefit you most in your life to bring you to the highest destiny of your life. Feel as if you are releasing any unwanted conditionings based on your previous experiences. Imagine that anything that has limited you is dissolving and being undone. Going to allow you now to rest for 2 or 3 minutes in this absolute space, this infinity. Now we begin to return from this space of infinity. Remember again the physical world of countless stars and planets. Like an immense ball of light, of physicality, you shrink down from infinity to encompass this. You are in harmony with all things in this universe as you shrink down further and further and further, coming to our galaxy and eventually back to our solar system, remembering our sun, our planets, and our own planet, Earth, with the moon around it. You come back to the earth and the moon, and then further down, back again to your city, to your house. You remember again your body, and you come in to your body, especially through the top of the head. And bring this infinite sense to benefit all of the cells of your body. As if a message of freedom, of the infinite, brought back to the finite. Your whole being is benefited and enriched by this gift of infinity. When you're ready, move your fingers and toes a little bit, crack your eyes, and come back to the room. All right, welcome back. So that's quite a distance from just focusing on the breath or a candle flame to both of the practices today are a little further out and more unusual and eccentric, but I want to give you guys a taste of various different traditions. As I said, I first heard of a practice like this. That is probably one of the most common meditations that I do. I don't do it every day, but in one of my primary teachers was a fellow from South India, yoga meditation teacher named Swami Vethathiri, and that was one of the cornerstones of his meditative practices. He called it Turiya Teeth. Turiya in yogic practices refers to a fourth state of consciousness, with the first three being the ones that everyone knows, which are deep sleep, dreaming, and waking. And then they say there's a fourth state that can be accessed. Turiya Teeth is going beyond even that fourth state to an infinite consciousness that has to be experienced. Long before I ever met Swamiji, I was reading of different meditation teachers, and oftentimes people will meditation teachers will describe what you might call a meditative experience or a religious sometimes experience or a mystical experience. And not uncommonly, there's no way to just characterize them. It's not like everyone experiences the same thing, but a very common element is this sense of realizing I'm not this physical body. This is something that I've chosen to enter into for learning purposes or artistic purposes or whatever you want to say, spiritual growth of whatever kind. But really, I am this infinite consciousness that I can return to. Many people have this spontaneous experience. If you choose to be more of a skeptical scientist, you could say that there's something about our brain that gives us this experience, whether it's true or not. But many mystics believe that there's an actual truth to this experience. I'm not trying to be the boss of anybody. You can believe whatever you like, but just want to introduce you to the concept. There are many who would say that doing a practice like this is liberating to your consciousness and will free you from limited ideas about yourself in a way that helps you to open to new possibilities that you may not have run into otherwise. So it's a good practice to try. With that, we will conclude for today. Is that Karen back on the scene here?
Yes, that's me. I shared my screen again, so you can see how to reach Dr. Nevin and the website. And then I also will take you to the website. So I'm going to take you off of this screen and I will share this screen. So this is Dr. Nevin's website. And if you scroll down, if you can see my mouse, it says the Heartlight Basic Relaxation Practice. So that's the thing you were talking about, right, Dr. Nevin?
That's right. And then when you click there, it will take you to an audio page and you can listen to it on your computer. You want the one on the left, the Heartlight Relaxation Practice. The other audio program is for parents of special needs children. It's a talk I gave years ago. But the one on the left is an audio practice that you can do again and again. It's similar to a practice that we've done in these meetings, where you go through the different parts of your body and relax each one in turn and imagine in a positive way, a positive light or inner smile coming into your body in different parts of your body one at a time. It's about 20 minutes or so long. It's me talking over Pachelbel's canon, a version that I found changed a little bit to make it unique for this practice. So that's a practice that I most often give to my clients as a bedtime practice, but you can do it sitting in a chair or standing or however you like. You can even just let it play while you're doing other things if you want to, while you're folding laundry or doing dishes or whatever. It won't have quite the same meditative effect if you're doing activities, but it can still be very relaxing and rejuvenating if you do it in that way. I would not suggest it while working heavy equipment or driving or things like that, but anything else you want to play with it, be my guest.
All right.
Any questions here at the end? You can unmute yourself if you have a question.
No.
Like you-
I don't know.
And as I've always said, if you prefer to ask a private question, you're welcome to contact me through my website or through the email pnevin@me.com.
Thank
and I'll
you.
share that screen one more time.
What's our date for our next one, Karen? Is it again back to the second
The
Tuesday?
next one is again, yes, back to the second Tuesday of the month. So it is April 13th at 11:15 a.m.
All right.
All right. And
Thank you
Corinne,
all
did
for
you have a
joining.
question?
Yeah.
Corinne, did you have a question or a comment?
No, can you hear me? I'm still playing. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. No, I don't
Okay,
have a
okay,
question.
great.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Nevin, as always.
I believe, Karen, am I right that the previous talks are on the website somewhere?
The previous talks are
So-
on the North Suburban YMC website as podcasts. Yes,
That's another choice. If you wanted to have a regular practice, you could go back and find any or all of the practices that you've liked that we've done here and use the video from these actual talks as your practice. I don't know if there's a way to like save that so that you can get to it easily, but if you liked a particular practice that we've done anywhere in the last several years that is saved on the website, you can use that as your daily practice as well.
absolutely. Yes.
Thank
All
you
right,
again,
everyone.
Karen. Appreciate you allowing us this venue. It's very nice to have this option.
So happy to be doing it and so happy that you all joined us today. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank